As you probably guessed by the noise in the background, we have a live audience again tonight. So, everyone in the audience, hello. And thanks to everyone at home joining us, our subscribers, and also just people in general want to watch us get inebriated on a Friday night. So the people who've got good observational skills will probably notice there's more than just me and Lee on the table tonight. So is this the 4th month in a row now we've got a guest brewery with us? So anyone with good eyesight might be able to spot the S on the t-shirts, and anyone who follows us on social media might be able to spot who it is. So we've got the guys from Siren in for the night. So we always do this every single time. We forget to introduce ourselves. Very presumptuous.
Yeah. I'm Ant, who's Dick.
So I'm Wayne.
I'm Lee.
And then we've got Sean and Matt from Siren. So Sean's head brewer, Matt's market manager.
Events
Manager, sorry.
Andy will kill you.
So we've bumped into each other plenty of times especially the last year at festivals and events, and we've been talking about this brewing a beer together for quite a long time. It took us quite a while to get there as well, didn't it? The recipe idea and things like that kind of got nailed down about a week ago, and we managed to get the beer brewed today, so pretty good going. We've got a beer that you guys are probably going to want to take out of the fridge, and for anyone in the audience, the live audience with us, there might be some people sat very close to me here who helped with that beer, so we'll talk more about that when we get to the 4th beer up. So if you want to take the Viva Flori-Ever. Can we start again? Yeah.
Viva Flori-Ever, think Spice Girls.
Oh, and then what's the next beer already? So if you want to get the beer out of the fridge, it'll taste a lot better once it starts warming up. You'll get all the flavours coming through. So, yeah. Hopefully you're doing a little bit better than we are tonight.
We'll put them up as they're needed.
And one of the things that I think everyone on this side of the camera are really excited about, especially the guys from Siren, is that we got our Instagram account back this month. So I have to think it was 7 weeks, I think, in total in Instagram jail. We got it back with a little apology saying, sorry we did that, it was an accident. No explanation why, but we've got it back, so that's great news. So we can actually
you say it was an apology. It didn't really read like an apology. It's like, we look like we banned you by mistake, here's your account back.
Yeah, but yeah, you want to go gun ho and attack that.
That's my style.
I'm going to say we've got it back. Please don't.
I'm being told by everybody else that you don't poke the bear. So I guess we won't be doing any more of that. Okay, so good to have Instagram back. So if you want to go ahead and pour your first beer, and I'll start to talk us through what we're going to be doing in this session. So as always, we're going to be going through 4 beers. The first of those is the one that you're pouring there, called Through the Air Gap, that was brewed 2 months ago with the guys from Buxton. It's a 6.2% modern pale. More details on that coming very soon. The second beer up is we're going into a sour. It's going to be the second in our Sweet Shop series. It's going to be a Rhubarb and Custard one that we've imaginatively titled Rhubarb and Custardz. That comes in at 5%. We're then following that up with Duo LIPA, which is a double lactose IPA. Duo L IPA, Duo LIPA. You can see what we did there. I thought I'd at least get a groan for that. I mean, come on. So that one comes in at 8%. And then we are finishing that off with a pastry stout, which has been brewed with the ladies from Flori Bakery here in York. And that is called Viva Flori-Ever. It's a cinnamon bun and coffee pastry stout, which we brewed to launch on International Women's Day, which was this Tuesday? Tuesday, yeah. Okay, so that's the 4 beers. In addition to that, once again, you've had a strong box. You also have got our first ever cold IPA, Kairaku, named after a prehistoric penguin, because why not? And then you've also got Kirsch Russell, which is the highest rated sour that we released last year, and everybody was demanding that we brought that one back. So hopefully you're enjoying the renaissance of that particular beer. And in your box of the 9 beers that you've had, you've only got 2 core beers. I'm told core is bad and you like the variety, so 2 is good, I guess. So what we're going to do as we taste each beer, same as we always do, which is we're going to talk about the recipe, the concept behind the beer, the name, anything unique about the process, about the ingredients, that kind of thing. And as always, say the same thing every time. this session is going to be better if you interact. So what we need is your questions in the room. So to get your questions in the room, you, I believe, have some paper and pens. Write down your questions, hold them up. They will be collected by someone in our team over there, and then they will pass them into us at the right time. For anybody who's watching online, you can comment below this video. Your questions will be captured by Nadia over there to our right, and she will once again write them down and pass them into us. Finally, after we've tasted each beer, we will also cover off a specialist subject. That's going to range from what did we brew together today to challenges facing the industry in terms of energy price hikes, all that exciting, sexy stuff. And then we'll be talking to you about our birthday beers, of which the beer we have brewed today is one. So if you are willing to wait right to the end, you will find out all 4 beers that have been brewed for our birthday, which you will be able to get at our birthday party on the 8th and 9th of April. We will be sharing further details on that once again later. Okay, so on to the first beer.
So hopefully you've all poured it by now, and hopefully Ant's going to change the prompt to me to remind me a bit more about the beer. So the first beer we've got up is Through the Air Gap. Lee mentioned it earlier. We brewed it not so long back with Buxton. So in the audience tonight, the beardless brewer, Josh, is oh, he's at the front actually. I was looking over there. He's moved. So we were talking about whether it's compulsory in the industry to have a beard. It's not compulsory, but it helps you get far, especially if you're female. So, but the beer itself, it's called Through the Air Gap, and it was a play on the fact that the Pennines and the Peak District, where they meet, there's a walk-in, what do you call it, a place of beauty called the Air Gap, and we wanted to kind of capture the difference between the two counties. The beer itself was worked on by Josh and the head brewer of Buxton, Nick. They came up with an idea of which hops they wanted to use, and thankfully those hops are now on the prompt that I can actually read instead of trying to name them from memory. So Idaho 7. Fun fact. Does anyone know why it's called Idaho 7?
You won't get the in-joke. He does this every session. and then I have to reveal the really lodging and nerdy fact that it's because they found it in row 7 in the particular field. There we go. Your lives are now complete.
Not as much fun now. And then also Mosaic. So we use Mosaic in quite a lot of our beers. It's one of our favourite hops. It's also much more easy to access than when we started the brewery 6 years ago, where it was kind of like gold dust. We couldn't get hold of this, or we also struggled a little bit with the next one, which is Chinook, another great hop, and it's something that you don't see as often anymore, which is a bit of a shame because it's just a really, really nice beer. Especially, I like a bit of a single hop Chinook pale.
Yeah, Chinook's more associated with your kind of classic, more kind of bitter forward, like lacking haze type beers, but I absolutely love what Chinook has been this last couple of years, and I think it does work really, really well in this type of style.
So one of the things you notice about this beer is it's actually pretty hazy. So it's intentionally brewed hazy, so we've got a few things in there that help with that. We've got the oats, wheat, and the colours a little bit more orangey, a little bit more amber than some of the other beers we brew. So a good example is the one, my backup beer, is a little bit paler than the beer we've got here. And one of the things that helps with that is it's got a little bit of rye malt in it, so you've got a nice orange colour coming through. And then the other thing that really helps, we've used this special yeast strain on it, so it's brewed by a company called Lallemand, who happened to pop in to see us today, but it's brewed with their Vermont yeast strain, and it's actually one that they developed with a brewery that you might have heard of called Verdant. Is it Verdant or Verdant?
Which is correct. I hear they're like up and coming. You should check them out. Right, so yeah, it's a beer that's really been well received. I think it's super easy. I think it's got that kind of full mouthfeel that you expect with this type of style. It is rating really well on Untapped. This time I've not been sent a Photoshop of every single Untapped rating, unlike I did with Josh's last release.
They were good.
Yeah, they were good, but I've got the Untapped app. I can check for myself. I do not need to be sent screenshots of every single review. But anyway, yeah. So that's the first beer, guys. Hopefully you enjoy that one, and it'll prompt a few questions.
I've got a good question. Off camera earlier, myself and Sean were having a good chat about dry hopping rates and in the industry. And one of the things we talked about is this growingly becoming seen as a bit of a sweet spot in terms of it's actually a lot lower than we anticipate. So we've actually used 20 grams per litre in this beer, which is way higher than what we were talking about earlier, which was 8, wasn't it? We were saying that 8 grams per litre you can make a really, really good pale ale with, or IPA. But historically, people have gone really heavy in the hops, and as soon as you get beyond a certain saturation point, the grams per litre is how many grams of hops you're using in each litre of beer. Sometimes the drop-off point is you won't notice any difference. Well, most people's palates won't notice any difference. But what it does mean is it makes the beer quite expensive because you put more and more cost into that.
So you're adding more to attempt to extract the desirable flavours. Maybe that's the piney bit, the floral bit, the fruity bit, whatever it is. But at the same time, you're increasing the amount of vegetable matter that's present. So you do tend to increase this thing called polyphenols, which can make the beer feel astringent. So the sweet spot is about getting the right balance of the desirable flavour characteristics and not picking up the astringency that would come with these polyphenols. Have I said that right?
Yeah, I'd agree. I like this hop combination. I think there are hops in here that can contribute to some biotransformation compounds as well, which could be interesting, and their verdant yeast is known to do that, so I think it's a good combination. But yeah, I think we at Siren are looking at like shorter dry hop times and maybe doing a few more of those, and getting the hops out and then putting fresh hops in again. We kind of shave off the hops straight after dry hop, like the next day, and we literally are drawing the hops out the tank, smelling them, going, no, these are a bit vegetal, keep going. And as soon as we start smelling good hops, then we'll send a CO2 burst and get those back in suspension. I think 3 days, then we'll take all the hops out and then we'll do another dry hop. So that's kind of where we are looking at now. I was talking with Josh quite a bit today about dry hop temperatures as well. I think there's a lot to play around there. I think dry hopping is something that not many textbooks cover in brewing, so it's a lot of learning as you go, and just then tasting the beers, which is the most important thing.
It's something we all take for granted in the specific part of the industry we're in. So the small proportion of brewers who make craft beer, it feels like there's lots of us out there, because there is, volumetrically, there's what? I always say 2,000, but there's got to be like 4,000, I'm guessing, now breweries out there. But the most volume brewed in the world, not just the UK, is by much bigger breweries than us. And dry hopping in a fermenter would be like ghastly to them in terms of what it would do to their costs, in terms of ingredients used, in terms of days lost to additional fermentation time, to all these impacts it would have on their production. Whereas there's been so many of us for what feels like a long time, but it isn't actually that long a time in the length of brewing, and so there's not that many textbooks wrote on it, because it's a relatively new technique, and I say new, it's, we're talking a small amount of years versus the hundreds and hundreds of years people have been brewing beer for.
But that's the beauty of having days like today, where breweries get together and we talk about, well, what do you do, and what difference do you think that makes, and well, what do we do, and what do we think we're getting from it? And then, we are, techs are few and far between, but that's why I love the industry in which we work, because it is ever evolving, and when it comes to hop science, there is very little that is definitively known. What we have is the latest thinking, and then we continue to evolve our approaches, hoping for ever better results, and hopefully some of the time we deliver them.
Yeah.
I mean, we're only 6 years old, so we're not very old in terms of brewing. Well, we kind of are. You guys are 9, aren't you, this month? And we're 6. So and you guys are like one of the older breweries out there. So it's quite a young industry. But in the 6 years we've been going, the techniques we've used have changed regularly. We certainly don't do today what we did 6 years ago. We constantly evolve and look at how we can get the best out of the ingredients we use. And the way that's really helped, and what's really helped us in particular, is how collaborative our industry is. We all work together, and we're quite open with each other. We don't see it as a bad thing if we help at Siren in any way to improve their beers, and they can help us improve our beers, then that's a great thing for the beer drinkers in general, as opposed to us thinking, oh God, we might lose a sale we might lose a keg sale to the local bar because Siren are going to get a beer in there. We're happy that happens. We're happy that the Siren beer goes into that bar because it means we can go and drink it and learn from them.
It truly is an amazing and unique industry to be part of. Me and Tom were discussing this earlier. And there was a point in time when Tom and I worked in offices, and Tom, sorry, off camera, over here, our head brewer. There was a point in time, we both worked in offices, and to now work in an industry where you don't climb over each other to get to the top, and you genuinely cannot do enough for each other. And like Wayne says, as long as it's not that macro crap on the bar, we really don't care. It really is unique, and we should never take that for granted. It's a very special industry in which we work.
Well, it's great, and I'd never met Tom or Josh in person, but today we were talking about people that we know together and just having lots of talks.
It's a small industry at the same time, isn't it? Everybody knows everybody,
and we like to talk. I think one of the greatest things about the brewing industry is the passion that's there for brewers and everyone that kind of gets involved in it, and we all want to make the best beer we can, and we all want to learn from every beer we make, and I think we're all on this journey kind of together and learning and growing and and having fun, hopefully.
Definitely a lot of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes too much.
Yeah.
I have a feeling tonight may be one of those nights.
Hopefully.
So, we did go off tangents. You'll find we do that a lot. So what we haven't told you about... Yeah, I've got that bit, yeah. So what we haven't told you about is what we actually brewed together today. So what we... I'm going to tell you the concept of our overall birthday beers later on, but what we brewed today is a beer that's called Coffee. As to why it's called Coffee, you will get later on. But specifically what it is, it's a maple mocha iced tea. Iced tea? It's not iced tea. Iced latte stout. That's me writing the notes.
Yeah.
Should never just blindly read the autocue, should you? So it's a maple mocha iced latte stout. So one of the things that Siren are most known for is a beer called Broken Dreams. It won Champion Beer of Britain 2018, I think.
Yeah.
It was the only time I was ever at the Great British Beer Festival and happened to hear over the tannoy when it was being announced as the best beer available in this great land. So that is a coffee and chocolate stout. What's the ABV on it?
6.5.
It's a coffee breakfast stout. Yeah, we don't actually put coffee in Broken Dream. We don't put cacao or chocolate in Broken Dream, but we do in the bigger version called Shattered Dream.
That's from right. We did have that conversation. Sorry.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've taken the grist from that, the grain bill, the combination of cereal grains, and we've amplified it up to 10%, and then we have added chocolate, and then we've increased the lactose, the kind of creaminess and the sweetness that we're going to get there. And we're going to amplify the coffee, and we've acquired some very high grade maple that we're going to put in towards the end of the production process. I don't think we ever talked about. Did I tell you the process we're going to use?
Yeah. We talked over email. We didn't talk today about it, but I'm very interested to see what happens.
Did he tell you how much the maple was?
So we spent over £1,000 on maple syrup to go into this particular beer. But maple syrup is basically sugar, and sugar ferments. So to try and return the character of something that is predominantly sugar is really challenging. Same with strawberries, by way of example. So we are trying to, we're going to introduce the maple at a point where we've tried to get as much of the yeast out of the way that we can. And we're going to make sure that most of the fermentation has been done. We're going to make sure that what little fermentation is going on very gently. And then we're also going to have the beer under pressure. So it means any of that character that might ordinarily dissipate out of the beer is going to be retained in the beer. This is our hub, anyway. Time will tell if that works. But it's an expensive ingredient, and if all it did was add alcohol and not flavour, then
money well spent.
Then I suspect Wayne will be having words with me. But
no, it'll work. It's going to be really good. It's going to be like Lee said earlier, the grist, the malt base for this beer is pretty exciting because of what it's based on. So it's going to be really complex. It's going to get lots of malty character through there, lots of flavour. It's going to be a really interesting one. And we've gone sensible this year for the birthday. So 10% is the peak this year instead of doing the 11, 12, 13 point, 15% like last year. More accessible beers. They are all strong, but 10% is the strongest.
Yeah, I mean 10% is us doing accessible. I mean that's bonkers, isn't it? Really.
I was thinking that earlier. Actually, this month's tasting is actually growing back up again, creeping back up because we had a super sensible session last time, and this one's got 8, 7.5, 6 and a bit, and the low ABV one next, which is 4.5.
Broadly sessionable. Nice. Okay. So at this point, I thought it'd be good if we could hand over to Sean and Matt from Siren, and they could tell you a little bit about Siren in terms of their 9-year heritage and your kind of approach to brewing, the kind of things you think you do well, basically whatever you want the guys to know.
Do you want to start with history and then I'll talk about the brewing?
Yeah. So we were founded in 2013, which, like you say, it doesn't sound that long ago, but in terms of brewing, it's we're, like you say, we're pretty one of the old boys in a sense. But we were pretty lucky that our first ever head brewer Ryan came from a background of brewing with some of the kind of, I guess, what you call European royalty, Evil Twin, Mikkeller and breweries like that. So we were able to hit the ground running. In the first year, we were voted the second best brewery in the world.
Nice.
And then we've been in the top 100 every year since. So that gave us like a real kind of like running, like a starting run. But the first beer that we ever brewed was Maiden. So it represented our maiden voyage, and you'll probably see a lot of references to kind of Greek mythology in our branding and the stories that we tell. But I think not necessarily in brewing, but most businesses that you'll start with a product that's mass appeal, easy to sell. First beer we ever brewed was a barrel aged barley wine, and we didn't even sell it. It wasn't even the first beer we sold because we brewed it and then we put it straight into barrels. I think when that was a signal of intent of what we were trying to do. We're going to tie up a huge amount of money for a brand new business and just chuck it into barrels and leave it for a year and see what happens. And that is our anniversary beer, so we're coming up to 9 years. So the next Maiden will be released next Friday, along with kind of 2 of our other anniversary beers. But I mean, that is purely it. We brew the beers that we want to brew. Regardless of what you said, £1,000 maple syrup, yeah, whatever, that's fine. Because that's what we want to do. And we're just kind of unapologetic about it. But I think we're also known for brewing such a wide variety of beers. We released a red IPA and a black IPA on the same weekend, which I'm sure our sales team were absolutely stoked about. But yeah, red on the festival circuit last year, which is where we met. I think we were Bristol's only brewery there with a red IPA. And people just weren't, they weren't really sure what it is, but it's a fantastic style of beer. So
It really is.
So yeah, we brew the style of beers that we want to brew. Huge amount of variations. I think last year we brewed over 100 different beers, all completely unique in their own sense. We've been doing that since day one, and I guess we'll carry on doing that. And yeah, we just hope everyone enjoys them, really. So
it's not often we have a conversation with a brewery that knocks out more variety than we do in a year.
Yeah. So I've only been at Siren for 3 years, which feels like a lot longer with the way the last few years have been. But I watched Siren. I used to brew in London, and I did that for 10 years before I joined Siren. And when Siren first started, like the core range was an oatmeal pale ale, which I didn't know anyone doing in the UK.
Dream. Not Broken Dream, sorry. Somewhere.
It was Undercurrent, I think. And then the red IPA, which was
Liquid Mistress,
Broken Dream, breakfast stout that no one was doing. They came in hard and fast, and I always sought them out and enjoyed drinking them. And then I got the opportunity to join there I, for some reason, was looking to start my own brewery, and that fell through. And then I had met Darren before and joined Siren when that fell through. And I think like one of the best things I came into was Darren was just like, Darren's the owner, and he was just like, make the beers you want to make the recipe you want to make, which, funny enough, I hadn't worked at a brewery that let me make the recipes I wanted to make, because the first one was owned by an accountant and the other one... Yeah,
hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
But it was a real breath of fresh air, and the real interesting thing is Darren drives a lot of the ideas as well. Comes in and, we love playing around with interesting ingredients. Like we use wood spirals in a lot of our beers to just extract different flavors. We're releasing a beer coming up with Amberana wood, which we played with, but Amberana wood has a lot of like spice notes to it, and it's incredibly interesting. It's a Brazilian wood, and it reminds me of tonka a lot. And so I've been pitching this beer for about 2 years, finally got to brew an Amberana and tonka stout, which Lee's helped me with the tonka side on some ideas on how to use that. And yeah, we just get to play around with things, and we like to push boundaries, we like to experiment, we like to learn from what we do. And I think that's like the core nature of Siren, which I really like. Matt touched on Maiden, and there's something that a lot of people don't know about Maiden. So it's our annual barley wine we release. It's the first beer we ever brew in a year, so it doesn't have to be on the 1st of January. It could be like this year we brewed it on the 2nd of January. It's the first beer we brew every year, and we do what you in port, I think they call it a Solero system. So whatever barrel we take out for that year, we then top up with the fresh Maiden that we brewed. So in theory, every barrel of Maiden has a little bit of year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. We're on year 9 now, so it's a real fun project. And we keep topping those barrels up and drawing off. But the best part of it for me is we get the whole company together, we have a down day, and we get to taste every Maiden barrel as a whole company individually. Then we take a lunch break and have a few beers, and then we come back and we make blends in groups of like probably 6 groups, and then we put those blends down, like once we finalize what blend we want, and then we all vote on which is the best blend, and whoever's blend that is that year gets the bragging rights for the year for Maiden. But it's a real great team company, like get together. It's a really special day for us, and that's what makes the basis of Maiden each year. And it's a beer that's really special to us. Next year is our 10th anniversary, so we're going to do a lot of special things, probably release some individual barrels. But Maiden kind of sums up what Siren's about, I think, in a lot of ways.
And you shared that...
We've got a sneak preview of it. We've got a sneak bottle of it before next Friday's release. The ones he brought down. Probably shouldn't mention.
And Sean was telling this story earlier, and I have to say it's the first time in 6 years of running my own brewery where I've almost felt like saying, do you know what, I just want to go and work for you. Because that sounds like an amazing employee day.
Well, we'll get you down for the blending session one year.
I'm there.
It's good fun if you're the one that gets to drink, Lee. Being the events manager, I'm the one that has to look after everyone and look after. I mean, they start drinking, 11% barley wines at 10 a.m. So by 5 o'clock, I'm looking after 50 very, very drunk people.
One of the beers that I remember from my first early days of drinking and from Siren was Tickle Monster. It was about 12% triple IPA or something.
I remember that.
It's such a good beer, and at the time, no one was doing anything like that. It was just kind of really game changing. And every time we went to a festival, go on then, get us the Tickle Monster.
Yeah.
And it was, and you knew that it was going to go a bit downhill from there, but in a good way.
So Tickle Monster was in a series of single IPA beers with cedarwood, and then the single hopped IPAs, and then those hops were brought together to make Tickle Monster. And I think we added mango to Tickle Monster because we rebrewed it as well. Yeah, so
nice.
But it's got cedarwood in it, which is a real interesting thing to put in an IPA. And yeah, we played around with that. It's hard to get cedarwood now, but
so we've actually run out of time from the first beer. So if you guys want to start pouring your second beer, we'll run through a
What?
couple of questions quickly. So second beer, as we obviously can see by the prompt, is not through the air gap.
It's that way up, that one there. So, it's a shame. Oh no, Josh is back in the room. You can probably answer this one for me, Josh. Through the air gap has a noticeably tight head. What creates this?
Tight head.
I would think it's the combination of the cereal grains that we have in there that have both short and long chain proteins in.
Good
So
answer, Josh.
we've got wheat, we've got oats, and you like to include a bit of rye as well, so we also have rye in, don't we?
Yeah, I like a bit of rye, just adds like a little tiny bit of spiciness.
Another question for you, Josh. In what proportions are these hops included in the air gap? So Idaho 7, Mosaic, Chinook. Was it like one?
Idaho led the way because it's my favourite hop, and it's Nick's favourite hop, who's never above them. Mosaic supported it, and then Chinook was just like a token amount.
So for those at home that wouldn't have heard that in the room, Idaho 7 led the way, supported by Mosaic, and then Chinook was more of a background
With a
contributor.
little bit of Chinook, we can make it
Oh,
through
you
the
should
night.
mention that 5 kilos went into the use though, because Tom's very passionate.
And some of those hops were introduced right at the start of fermentation, and that was to encourage what Sean was describing earlier, which is biotransformation, which I can't really mention that without getting technical.
You can, because we can move on to the next question.
I'll do it very quickly. But you've heard me say this many times before. Biotransformation is something organic, taking one compound and converting it into another form of compound. In the context of beer, that is yeast, or rather an enzyme in yeast, taking something that might not be that flavourful or aromatic and converting it into something else that is very flavourful and aromatic. Okay.
That was a really quick response from Lee.
There we go. Thank you. I'm getting better. Please do some kind of broken dream / Tonkoko mashup.
It's funny you should say that. That was one of the first ideas we were saying. We're like, we're going to do that.
That's almost what we were going to do, but it didn't fit with the overall concept that we were trying to create for the birthday beers. That will make more sense when we get to that bit later on.
Do a cask version as well.
What beer style you haven't already brewed would you most like to try? I don't think that leaves a lot for any of us. But anyway, go for it.
My brewers are pushing a Dunkelweiss. My sales team are telling them not to brew it.
Dark and wheaty.
We got a Hefeweizen yeast in at the moment, and there's a lot of chat in the brew team about that.
Lee wasn't here earlier when we were sat outside talking about the beer that Matt was tasting on camera, the dark beer. It was a couple of years back. There's a video on Instagram, I'm guessing, of Matt drinking a beer, and that's sour, and he's drinking a dark beer. And I said to the guys, "Are you sure that's the right video?" He's drinking a dark beer, but you brewed a sour porter,
Cold steeped sour porter. Yeah.
I would drink that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, the sales team hate us, but I think I pitched you a Rauch beer that was spun on hickory, just to kind of make liquid bacon. But again, I feel like our sales team would just absolutely hate us for that. But
Okay, well, I mean, you prompted my answer then, because I can never. There's Lichtenheiner, or there's the Dam beer. One of them is a dark smoked sour beer, and I always confuse the two. That's what I would love to do, but yeah, I think our sales team would walk out the door if I made that beer.
So we've got a few more questions, but we need to move on to the next beer. We'll start drinking, introduce the next beer, and then we'll come back to questions. So it's a good time for Ant to maybe change the prompt. So we know which this beer is. So this beer is the second beer in our sweet shop range. So anyone who enjoyed last month's cherry cola, this is the follow-up to that, which is Rhubarb and Custardz. Like Lee says, really creatively named for a change for us. So based on, that's your beer actually, you do some talking.
Oh, is it me?
He's got an L, so I'll stop talking.
Yeah, I think you've done a lot of it. So yeah, one of our favourite retro sweets. Absolutely love the Rhubarb and Custard sweet. I think for me, if you want to find the definitive one of these, go to Marks and Spencer's. Their rhubarb and custard sweets are incredible, and that's what we've attempted to achieve with this. We've made it with rhubarb, we've made it with vanilla. Other than that, it's kind of a Berliner Weiss type style, very wheat heavy, but also lots of oats in here. And then, the next month we're doing a lemon sherbet one.
Hey!
Quotes from the audience there.
And then the month after that, we're doing, I keep calling this a pineapple chunk beer.
Pineapple cubes.
But I'm being told that that's like a weed reference. So apparently what I'm supposed to say is we're making a pineapple cube one the month after. But I remember them as pineapple chunks. The little cube. I suppose they were cubes.
Goonies, that's what.
So the month after we're working with Women on Tap, who have a festival each May in Harrogate celebrating all women who work in beer. And we're going to be working with them to create a pineapple version of this as a pineapple chunk / cube beer.
So anyone familiar or relatively familiar with our beers knows we do quite a few different rhubarb themed beers. So rhubarb and custard sour, I was very looking forward to this, and it's a nice beer, but I think it needs to be sourer. I think I just want it super sour like the sweets.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And what that usually means, do we go technical? Do we go to the pH, or do we just say we can tweak it? Next time
You're asking me. What am I going to say? Always, I'm going to go technical. Yeah.
But yeah, when we do this is what we call a kettle sour, and kettle sour is when we boil the sugary liquid. Typically in a brew, we boil the sugary liquid and we add the hops, and it gives it some bitterness or some flavour and aroma. When it comes to sour beer, we actually go to the kettle and we do the boil, and then we bring the temperature down again, and then we introduce a sour bacteria. We buy it from Lalaman, the company I was talking about earlier.
Hey, Bob's getting a few plugs today, isn't he?
Typically we use their product called Sour Pitch, and it's really good, and we introduce it. It basically lowers the pH of the beer, so the acidity, it lowers it down to a level where we're comfortable with. We've got different ranges we target, and then we boil it again to inoculate it, to basically get rid of any of the bacteria, and then we finish the beer in a normal way. So the lower we can get the pH, the more sour the product becomes, but the more enamel will strip off your teeth. So we've got to kind of get the balance right in terms of making sure that you don't have to go to the dentist even more than you already have to with our lactose-filled beers.
Yeah. And the type of bacteria that Wayne's referring to is something called lactobacillus. There's various strains of it. You have some of them as part of your natural fauna in your gut. One of them, or a selection of them, is what makes yogurt. It's what turns milk into yogurt.
It's interesting actually, because one of my favourite original sour beers I used to really like was one from a brewery called Mad Hatter. If anyone remembers Mad Hatter, they were in Liverpool, and they used to do a beer.
They used to do two beers. They used to do one called
Tzatziki was the one I really liked.
No, but they did two sours. One was called Liverpool Tart, and one was called Manchester Tart. And one was raspberry, and one was, I don't know, was it strawberry? What was the other one? Anyone remember? But they did that using raspberry flavoured yogurts put into the boiler and the other flavour yogurt put into the boil. But I think it was was it Manchester Tart? That was the raspberry one. It was fantastic.
But the tzatziki one was a cucumber based sour based on the tzatziki dip. So sounds horrible, but it was really good.
Do you know why it sounds horrible? Because it was.
It does. Their brewer went to London. Is it Orbit?
Yeah.
Well, no, there's two versions now, because part of the team went to Orbit, and then part of the team went to
his own brewery in Liverpool still now, and I can't.
Glen Affric. Is it Glen Affric? No.
It's Paul Spraggett. I used to work with him. He's a head brewer at Orbit, so he's revived it there. He was the but Lally from Polly's actually worked after him there and brewed it with Mad Hatter, and he's now at Polly's. So
after a short detour via
did anyone else pick up
Magic Lock?
Yeah, a few other places.
So it's a typical thing that I'm usually the person who goes to the toilet first as soon as the live stream starts, whereas Matt's lost today.
Well, I mean, Matt, I don't think I was aware of the competition. So technically, the war is still on.
Now everyone's aware of it and watching.
Start cross my legs. So one of the other things we like to talk about usually partway through the tasting is what are the big highlights for us as a business or as an individual in the last month. So go on, Lee, get your tats out.
Sorry, he's referring to my tattoos. So, not my rather ample moobs. So in the last month, I did something that I very rarely do, is I took some time off. And I took 3 days off in a row, and I went and sat in a tattoo chair for 8 hours a day to have various tattoos done, things that I've queued up over the last years and just never found the time to do. And I thought, I'm going to take some time for myself. I've been and had it done. On this arm, I've got what's called a morph, which is...
You know, the plasticine animal from the 80s TV.
No, I've had done... so half of it's an eagle, half of it's a lion, like our logo. It's the two animal heads morphing into one another. And on my left calf, I've had an alien, as in...
alien life form, the 80s. He's a big fan of 80s pop culture.
As in the xenomorph alien from the movie. And on... Well, you can probably guess what I've had put on my right calf. If you have an alien on your left, what do you put on your right?
E.T. Ridley Scott. Predator.
Predator. So I have the Predator on my right calf.
I won't go into my other jokes on that subject. So.
But anyway, so that's my personal highlights. Beyond that, my business highlights is all the work that's gone into the beers for our birthday celebration. So this was the third that we've done today. We've got the final one being done next Tuesday. So it's been a fun ride. I need some new kidneys.
Yeah, it's been really cool. The whole year so far has been really cool. We've worked with some amazing breweries like Siren. We've had the guys from Buxton down. We've had Thornbridge down. It's just such a great start to the year from us. And on the back of what we've been doing, we're really pleased. My highlight is kind of a double thing. We've been invited to 2 festivals that I've been so excited to go to as a business for so long. So we're going to Peakend and Finefest announced today. So that's pretty awesome to get invited to those festivals after 6 years of watching from the sides and thinking, can we go to that?
It's really cool. Yeah, both Fine Ales and Thornbridge are kind of the grandfathers of our sector, of our business, and to have their appreciation, to have their respect to the point that they want us to be part of their festivals, that's a pinch yourself moment. This is when we started this 6 years ago, I never would have thought that kind of day would have come. So it's amazing that they are honouring us by allowing us to come and pour at their festivals.
Plus we get to stay in a tent for a few days.
Oh, yeah, both of them are camping ones, aren't they? Yeah.
You can finally convert your VW and make a camper van.
Yeah, I'm not sure I have enough time to do that, but yeah. Anyway, what about you guys? What's your highlights of the last month been?
Besides, obviously, coming to see us.
Yeah.
I'll give you the get out by now.
I think Maiden and our release beers alongside of it have turned out really well. Really happy with them. We also released Export India Porter,
Nice.
which
I love that style.
I was surprised how happy I was with it. Like it turned out really good. So
I'm going to grill you on all the details on that one
yeah.
later.
So Andy Parker, who's like
Losing Andy.
the Black IPA
Nicest man in beer.
Bring Back King, said he thinks it's the best beer we've ever released, which is awesome for him to say. And yeah, my personal happy moment was I got to get back on the ski slopes last week for a week and take a week off.
And
do
you
you-
came back without any broken bones.
Do you ski or do you board?
Bored, yeah. I did a ski season after university and got hooked from that. So yeah, that was really good. Got no snow, but blue skies every day, so I kind of can't complain. But
I was pretty excited when the guys arrived today. They gave us a couple of beers, which block your ears if you're in one of our brewers in the audience, because you didn't know that we got these. Lee will share his.
We'll send more.
We'll send more up.
The 2 birthday beers. So the 2 birthday beers. One's a West Coast IPA, so we were very happy with, and then the other one was the Tonka and
Amberana
Imperial Stout, as well as a bottle of Maiden, of this year's Maiden. So they launch next week, so we will hopefully drink all of Lee's tonight, because he's brought his down with him.
Although there was talk of Matt sending more beers our way, so I think
that sounds a good one.
Yeah,
I think we need some of this export into a stout by the sounds of it.
Just didn't want to bring them on the train, to be honest. I filled my suitcase with a crisp and
Matt's highlight of the week is that he's able to post the beers for free.
yeah, it's DPD. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Now I know you joke about it, but I think my highlight genuinely is collabs, because we had the guys from Turning Point come down. I know we talk about Andy Parker being the nicest person in beer, but Cam from Turning Point is very close second.
Yeah,
he's the nicest guy I know. And
he won't be watching us. But no,
okay, I'll tell you about that then. Just trying to get some free beer.
We've known Cam for quite a while. He used to be, we've known him from his days working in the Maltons, and then when he took his own place on the Falcon Tap. And then I remember at the time he was serving his homebrew through the taps, and I was like, mate, you can't do that, you're not allowed to. And then we were tasting it, saying it's actually pretty good. And then when he started his own brewery, I was like, oh.
I take special pride in his success, because some of my homebrew equipment got passed down to him, and then he's kind of the next lot coming along. So
It's
yeah,
a circle of life, that is, isn't it? Yeah, and having them come down to brew this absolutely magnificent Hopfenweiss, which is just absolutely pure gold, and then coming up and kind of brewing with you guys. So,
What did you make?
so Hopfenweiss.
What, and what's one of those?
a hopped wheat beer.
I know
Yeah.
what it is.
So for the benefit of the camera, we were asked off camera what a Hopfenweiss is. Hopfenweiss is a wheat
For your benefit, though, the reason
I didn't get that.
Yeah.
One of the other really cool things that actually was only confirmed this month, which, talking of camping festivals, so we're actually we're actually pouring at a Bigfoot festival again this year, as our Siren, and behind the scenes we've been doing a bit of work to try and do something a bit cooler than we did last year. So Bigfoot Festival is a giant music festival, camping festival with some really great craft breweries there, and we all went, had a great time, and we thought, what can we do to make it better this year? And we spoke to the organisers about maybe doing a combined tent, where instead of being like amongst 20 breweries in a general tent, and we've managed to secure our own little private tent. So this is big TB tent, and ourselves, Siren, our friends at Fierce, and our friends in Amundsen are going to be the 4 breweries in this tent. So we're going to have a really cool tent, and then the guys who are pretty close with Siren, Original Patty Men, OPM, are going to do the food outside it. You guys are bringing your own DJ from the tap room up. It's going to be awesome. So if you are going to Bigfoot, that's the place to be.
I think Sean was trying to convince me on the train up to do an air guitar competition.
I just need to learn to hold myself back. Look, Bigfoot last year, I did that, I'm kind of discussing this earlier, that clinical error of, first night on holiday. Let's not go too big.
Yeah, I definitely
was absolutely destroyed night one, and then I felt terrible for the rest of the festival. And then we had to do a YouTube thing on the second day.
Oh God, yeah.
I was like, I don't even want to see beer, let alone talk about beer on camera.
I don't know how you're not going to go too big though in a beer tent that consists of Siren, you, Fierce, and Amundsen. It's just huge stouts. But
here, have one of our more sessionable ones. It's only 12%.
Yeah.
And I definitely didn't do that. I almost killed Nadia on the first festival for us. So Nadia was staying in a tent. So we all had our tents in an area, and I happened to fall on Nadia's tent and didn't crush her. Thankfully, yeah.
Can you imagine that falling on? Oh my God.
So anyway, the people at back home, we need to move on quick. Come on.
Right, have we got any more questions, guys? Whilst we line up the next beers.
Oh, look at those.
Right, if you want to have a handful of them. So I've got one carried over from before, which is actually for the Siren guys. I like this one. Hi, Simon, guys. Thanks for the anniversary beer, but what's your favourite Brew York beer? That's from Matthew. Puts you on the spot, that's why I like it.
Doesn't it? I really like the Freaky Friday series, and I don't know if I could pick a favourite one of those, but I think I sat there over not a night. I'm not that mad. I sat there over a couple of nights drinking those, and they were just all incredible. I mean, like G's Forsyth is obviously that beer that you can, is really smashable, and you can drink pints and pints of. But those, I really enjoyed the obviously being from beer and working in marketing, I enjoyed the whole kind of like concept, and even down to the booklet that we sent. I think myself and Andy, our marketing manager, were looking at that booklet and being, oh, this is really nice. They've gone all out in this, but I really enjoyed those. But I can't pick a favourite because they're all pretty brilliant in their own right.
Well, the thanks to the booklets was Nadia and on the right. Definitely not Waters, who's hiding in the background as well. There's nothing to do with him.
He's not listening.
Exactly.
He's not asleep, is he?
The credit for the booklet was those guys, because one of the things we're trying to market and promote beer all the time. We're trying to encourage you guys to buy more of our beer, and when we can bring you out to a festival or an event, it's a little bit easier because we get that interaction. But when you're all locked in at home, what do you do to try and push and promote stuff? Typically, if you walk into a shop, you've got a nice fancy box and you can see something that makes you want to pick it up and buy it. But if we're shipping you a beer in a box anyway, because you've been locked down and you've been locked down for 12 months drinking beer from a box. What do we do to make it a little bit different? And that's what we did with the Freaky franchise. We came with the booklet just because it's a little bit more information about the beers, and then you can actually keep. It was the first time we'd ever done a peel label, which obviously we do now all the time. You can peel them off, keep them in the booklet, which sounds really funny because who wants to peel stickers and keep a booklet? But we all kind of have that little kid inside of us, don't we? We like it, and it's become such a popular thing. So it's like,
can you release a shiny next year?
Yeah, well,
We do swaps.
Yeah.
that's the
You got any foils?
Yeah.
I've got another one for the sound guys. So, would absolutely love it if Simon would consider bringing Liquid Mistress back.
Oh.
It's very much missed, and that's from Stacey Kelly.
Yeah, we get this all the time. I think it's a constant Twitter, kind of campaign to get us to bring back Liquid Mistress. And we love red IPAs, and I think there is always a red IPA out at any given time. I think the most recent one we got at the moment is Jiggery Pokery, named after our ops manager, who always has to perform a bit of jiggery pokery in the warehouse because it's always full. But yeah, I mean, we're massive fans of red IPAs. I think there's a lot of love out there for Liquid Mistress. But I think what we quite like to do is just bring out new red IPAs, and there is always something down in that vein.
I suppose that's where we got to with Big Eagle, which is our West Coast IPA. It sold okay, but it didn't sell well enough to be part of the core range. But because it was part of the core range, it meant I couldn't brew another West Coast IPA. Yeah. So the fact that that's now out of the core range means I can do other West Coast IPAs. Yeah, such as the Thorny Eagle that we've just done with Thornbridge. So it makes me a happy man.
It's very similar to that. We love. I mean, Sean will probably tell you more about how we like playing with red IPAs, but they're brilliant styles.
How do your sales team like red IPAs?
Yeah, they love them.
Because it's one of those things where I love them. Most brewers I know love red IPAs. Most hunters I know don't buy enough of them to justify keeping one in the core range, and it's so frustrating. But that usually happens with things like black IPAs, or for us, we had a brown ale in our core range. We love the style, we love the beers, and most people who try it say, "Oh, that's great," but not enough people then go and buy it because most people like to drink pale ale. And that's what kind of forces you to look at your core range and try and make sure that not only can you brew it, because you've got to brew it regularly enough to keep the beer fresh, to make sure it's turning over quick enough. It's not necessarily a commercial thing, it's just making sure the beer is fresh. So yeah, it's always a challenge because the styles we tend to love tend to be a bit out there.
Yeah, it's just a chance to play around with it. I think just shortly after I joined Siren, we brewed an Imperial red IPA called Grand Designs. It's called Grand Designs because our owner Darren looks exactly like Kevin McLeod. So much so that I considered taking him to my new build just to literally see the look of panic on the developer's face as I brought Kevin McLeod to my brand new construction. But it's a chance to do that. Liquid Mistress, it is a great beer, but we can do imperial versions. We can take it in different directions, and I think we love red IPAs, and that's quite exciting, I think.
So I've got a good one for Lee. So what's the difference between Rhubarb and Custards and Rhubarb Streisand Sour?
0.5%.
And a makeover.
There we go. Next question. How many rhubarb and custard sweets were consumed in the process? None, but we did take receipt of 3 kilos of snakes. What are they called?
Oh, those snakes today.
Haribo snakes.
It all makes sense. You turned up with KFC and Haribo snakes.
When I met the guys in the brewery first thing this morning, I walked in with a bag of cold KFC from last night that I was bringing for Lee's breakfast. And he had a bag of 3 kilogram Haribo snakes. And I don't know why, but I thought these guys had brought me a bag of snakes to say hello. I was pretty jealous, to be fair.
No, it's a rule I have. I can't go to the cash and carry without picking up Haribo. So I got Haribo for the team while we were at the cash and carry.
So here's a good question for, I guess for Matt. Will Siren bring any of this year's maiden to the birthday bash? Seems like the polite thing to do. I'll bring the cheese. That's from Michael.
I can't say no now, can I?
Exactly, especially to bring the cheese.
I was sitting in the office actually while Sean was busy brewing, and I'm just doing my office job as I do. I was looking at the event, the holding order, all these amazing kegs that I've been saving. I was literally saying to Woz and Nadia, just saying, I think our bar is just going to be 12 lines of 12% barrel-aged beers that we've been saving. And I was quite reminded that only 10 of them could be barrel-aged, and I just had to bring two sessionable beers. But yeah, I mean, I've got to do it now, haven't I?
Well, definitely. I mean, over that, I'll bring a load of bottles with it. Well, you guys do some big bottles, don't you, of maiden usually?
Yeah, we've got actually a really nice thing. So we I might not still be available at the moment, but we rebrewed Mavka, which is a beer that we originally brewed with Viva, who's from Kiev. And it's all the proceeds are going to drinks for Ukraine. So if anyone wants to buy an absolutely delicious beer, literally everything that we get, every single penny we get, it's not.
I have a question on that.
Oh, go on then.
So just to make sure you cover up, Siren, I pre-ordered your Imperial Stout pack that you've rebrewed in collab with Viva Brewery, Ukraine, to raise proceeds for Ukraine. Please could you tell us about the original collab? And that's from Matthew. Did you write this to yourself?
I gave myself a nice little clang. Yeah, well, so we've rebrewed it. Literally every single penny will be going. It's not profits. It's every single penny. We were also. Thank you. Yeah. We also were taking £10 donations. It may still be on our website. You can have a look. But it was to win a magnum of hand painted. It was the first ever maiden that we ever brewed.
Weren't you auctioning that? Did I hear that right?
It's kind of, yeah. If you donated £10, someone would win.
This one's
Oh,
just
so you put it's a raffle. You put in £10,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you may have a chance of winning it.
And all the money is going to
didn't lose, I've lost the
Jiggers for Ukraine. But I wasn't around actually when we originally brewed Mavka, and I don't think Sean probably was as well. But you could probably tell us more about the recipe.
I wasn't around, but we brewed the beer. I think last year we brewed Mavka. No, it was the year before we brewed Mavka, so I was there for that, and we discussed recipes. Basically, Mavka's a collab with them where we mashed up our Imperial version of Broken Dream and the Imperial core stout, which has got coconut in. So it's basically a big version of Broken Dream with some coconut in, and it was. I thought the beer was great the last time we brewed it, so we brewing it again. But I wasn't there when they came out but Darren has a story which he had told me that he took the guys from Ukraine out to this pub called Georgian Dragon, which is a traditional English pub around the corner, well, not around the corner from the brewery, just a little bit away. And these guys loved it. They just had the best time there. It was really a little, small, traditional English pub. And at the end of last year, we bought that pub. And the first thing Darren said is he wants to get those guys back out to take them to the pub now that we own it.
But not tell them until they're inside it.
Well,
that would be the way to do that.
But Darren almost wanted to buy that pub from that eve. It is the nearest pub to his house, so we bought.
There may be other influencing factors, yes.
But I've been there with him 3 times, and every time I've been there, he's brought up the story about showing the guys from Viva around there. So, we really want to get them back over at some point and take them to the pub now that we own it. But we got a lot of time for that brewery, and we want to help where we can. So that's what we're doing.
I think I speak for everyone in the room and everyone watching when I say, as was done over there. Yeah, congrats, guys.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's pretty much sold. I mean, we were taking pre-orders, and the response has been overwhelming. I don't think there's a lot left of it.
Good.
So, and that's really encouraging. So, and, all that money is going to go to it's such a great cause. So, but I'm not sure if we're still doing the Maiden Magnum, but if anyone's watching, definitely go on the website, check it out, and have a look. But if not.